Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me. This is a follow-up video to my previous video. I made a video called Entity Competition in Cardano, and I also talked about a future IOG prediction. So in this video, the gist of the video was I think that the three business plans of all three entities are diverging. They're going in a completely different direction. So I made my points. I stand by my points. I wanted to make a quick correction though. Nico from EMURGO contacted me today and let me know that there's some contention with what I said. And I also want to say that Nico is the CEO of Brandmark and Ken Kodama is the founder and chairman of Brandmark. So I saw founder and chairman and I assumed that he was part of the C-suite as well. That was my mistake. Ken Kodama is the CEO of Emurgo and the founder of chairman of Brandmark. So that's a technicality that I made a mistake on. I wanted to go through every single point because Nico has counter arguments or he's going to say what's going on his side. I stand by what I said, but I am all ears and I'm willing to listen to whatever's going on. So the first thing that I guess I want to talk about was I use the term divestment a lot. I want to remind everyone that divestment is basically, I have the dictionary definition, the action or process of selling off subsidiary business interest or investments. Nico is part of Emurgo. He is the CTO of Emurgo and the CEO of Brandmark. Can you speak as to what's going on with the ADA wallet for Emurgo? Have they divested over time? It's kind of obvious that they have, but you can speak to it whether you want to or not.
Hi, thank you for having me. So comments about that, I don't know. I'm a CTO. I'm mostly like overseeing projects for Cardano, Brandmark, also related to DLab. So I don't get to see everything that's related about money, if they're like multiple investments in some other things that are like different. But what can I say is that for the calculations that you did, we are not only like delegating to our stake pools, we are also delegating to stake pools from the community. So actually we have more ADA, but the only person that's controlling the ADA, and that's for security reasons, is our CEO, Ken Kodama. As you know, we have been in operations for a lot of time, so that's also why obviously we have had to touch ADA, and that's also one of your comments. But in general, I don't have all the information related to like where the investments or some other things have happened or how the wallets have been like subdivided for security reasons. So I cannot comment that much on this, but for all the other points that you made, I have answers, and I think it's going to be like an interesting discussion.
Okay. Sounds good. I also reiterated in my video, and I've said it in previous videos, I don't really see an issue with the entities selling their ADA. At some point, they have to recoup their investment and they need to stay afloat. They have business expenses. In the future, IOG will be selling ADA as well, and so will the Cardano Foundation. It's just expected. This was just to a greater point because I coupled this with another point, and that other point was that Emurgo is running 5 pools. So you pointed out the fact that you are also delegating to community pools. So it is over that 500 million ADA that I said in that video, but it is less than that between 2 and 2.1 billion that was founded at the time of the ICO. So ADA has been sold, but we don't know exactly how much ADA is left over. But that being said, couple this with the 5 pools that Emurgo is running. You have Emurgo Run, Emurgo 2, 3, and 4, and then the YOROI wallet. And all 5 pools are pledging 1,000 ADA to their pool. This is the owner's pledge. This is the skin that they have in the game. This is what they put towards their pool to show they are dedicated. Or, I mean, it really has no significance at this point in the game because I made a video previously about the A0 value and the K factor. And you really need to have an astronomical amount of ADA for it to mean anything. So the numbers don't really make sense. But at the same time, I said that there are community pools that are delegating 100 to 1,000 times more than the pledge for Emurgo. You know, I like to think in analogies. Michael Jordan owns the Air Jordan brand. He sells Air Jordans. I never want to be in a position where I have more Air Jordans than Michael Jordan himself, because he's the brand ambassador. He should have more than the actual community because it's his project, unless he completely splits, if that makes any sense. So can you speak to the 1K pledge?
Yeah, so we can divide it in 2 points. The first one is that having more pledge actually helps you with the rankings. And if you have like checked for the rankings of YOROI and Emurgo, we are not that up high. And actually there is a lot of stake pools that are like way better than us in the rankings. And that also is like related to how much is the pledge that we have. And the second topic, why we have like around like 1,000 1,000 ADA for the pledge, is because, as I mentioned before, the only person that has the keys right now is Ken Kodama for security reasons. And I don't have access to like the ADA, which is like better. And that's why we don't want to have anything in hot storage. And also I need to have access to the servers. Other people need to have access to our servers, like our DevOps. So just playing more will indirectly give access to everyone that is technically to like the private key, which is like not great. So basically we are going to pledge more when the integration with Ledger is done, so stake pools can also like pledge using Ledger.
Okay. So it's an issue of security at this point then.
Yep.
Okay.
But not security in terms that there is something wrong with the node or anything like that. I think it's pretty safe, but security in terms that me as a person shouldn't have access to that. The DevOps person shouldn't have access to the keys. But for example, if me, Nicolás Arqueros, will be running a stake pool, I will feel comfortable like putting like everything there and playing as much as I can. But the thing is not about like the security of the node, but actually giving access to me and other people to the ADA, which is like, that's the security issue, not the technical part of Cardano.
I understand. I mean, I still think that the 1K pledge, even with that issue, is still extremely low. Most people, like I said in my video, probably walk around with more than $100 in their wallet. So I mean, at this point in the game, that's how much that pledge is worth. So even with the future security issues, more could have been pledged just to show some sort of solidarity with other community pools that are really some of them are putting their entire life savings, everything on the line. So that's what I looked at it as. But
yeah, at the end, I think solidarity comes to other terms. And if this is like the only thing that we will be doing, it will be like bad. But in Emurgo, we are doing multiple things for the community. And even like I mentioned, like a few days ago, that we are going to add something into YOROI so we can promote the stake pools that don't have that much like delegation. And I think this actually solidarity, like putting my hours of work, we have so much stuff to do, but we really care about the community. We want to like be able to hear them, and when there is an issue that's quite obvious there is an issue, we want to help. And I feel solidarity goes more in that way, and not like, I don't think it's going to change the life of anyone if instead of like pledging like 1,000 ADA, we pledge 10,000 or like 50,000. Almost everything's going to be the same. But if we actually are like implementing changes into YOROI that could like help small stake pool operators get a better chance to get more delegation, I think actually that is more solidarity, because we're using our time for like to improve like the community and to help people.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to move on to the next point that I made. I also compared. So Brandmark is your company. You're CEO of Brandmark. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
And I feel like what Brandmark is doing is competing with the ATALA Trace program. And I don't see any issues with that. Like, I'm all about, entrepreneurship and creating your own businesses and just going out there and getting as much of the pie as possible. But it looks like both companies are competing in similar fields, very similar fields. And I don't know if you can speak to that. I mean, even on the website, Cardano.org, I just want to read this sentence real quick. Blockchain technology has emerged as a viable method to support all the stakeholders along the supply chain. Farmers, hauliers, and retailers can use blockchain for product identification and traceability from farm to table using systems like ATALA Trace and Emurgo's proprietary traceability solution for transparency in the supply chain. So both going after the same niche. So
yeah, so I can comment a lot and talk a lot about this. It's super interesting. But for example, you mentioned that this is a niche, and actually it's not a niche. It's like a huge market. And at the I think like having both solutions is like pretty good because we can attack like different parts of the market. So for example, IOG has been like trying to do a lot with beef, and we have heard about like the work that they have been doing in Wyoming. We actually are doing like different stuff. We are going to coffee, olive oil in like, for example, Indonesia, in the Mid East. And the way that we are like stating our vision about the product, it feels different from what IOHK is doing. And it's not because IOHK's vision is wrong. It's because just like our business development had access to other type of companies that they have. So at the end, we complement both of them, and both of them can like bring value to Cardano, and we can talk about how an enterprise solution can actually bring value to Cardano. And I say Cardano, I didn't say exactly ADA, because in the short term, I think it's going to bring value to Cardano. In the long term, I think it's going to bring value to ADA.
I understand. I understand. You know, I've made a video before on my channel talking about ATALA Prism, and I mentioned ATALA Trace as well. And I don't think that it has anything to do with ADA at the moment. And this is more of a B2B, B2G kind of type of solution to create revenue. And you are bringing these companies onto the blockchain, but doesn't necessarily mean that they use Brandmark or they use ATALA Trace and they're going to be somehow consuming ADA in order to run their systems. And this is why I thought that, you know, both IOG and Emurgo are like separating in the sense that they're exploring things outside of Cardano or outside of ADA, and then it seems like they merge within the same niche. But you just said that it's a wide category. So
yeah, so I can talk more about that, and this is a super interesting part. We have heard about DeFi a lot, like DeFi here, DeFi there, and when you see DeFi, most of the stuff that you see right now is like pretty early in terms of like, it's just some stuff that not like the entire world is using. It's just like crypto people are using DeFi, for example, for getting leverage. So for example, if I have 100,000 worth of, let's say Ethereum, because right now DeFi is pretty big in Ethereum. And I'm super convinced about Ethereum. I think it's going to go bigger, but I don't have more money to buy Ethereum. Usually what would you do? You would use this 100,000 and put it as a collateral in MakerDAO, and you will be able to get a loan. The loan right now is like 8.5%. I can talk about like the other options, why this is like actually a good idea and you wouldn't go to a traditional one. And basically you put 150% of what you want for collateral. So for example, from $100,000, you can get, let's say, 40K. And with those 40K in a stable coin that's pegged to a US dollar, you can use it to buy more Ether. So at the end, maybe you were like so excited about Ethereum, and with 100K and without putting more money, you actually got to add like 20 minutes later, actually have more leverage, 40% leverage, and to get to up to 140K. And actually, you can play with the numbers, and it's pretty crazy because you can actually get up to 3x in leverage, but it's like super dangerous because if the price goes down, it will trigger liquidation and it will sell your Ether. But this is like the foundation of like DeFi, because when you're paying for like the interest of like this debt, this is like going to other people that are actually like lending. And so this start like creating this DeFi movement that some people want to go long crypto and other people are just putting money in different projects because they want to get interest. And that's super interesting because if I have a specific token and I think it's going to go up and I'm just going to hold, maybe I can put it in a specific like protocol built on top of a blockchain, and it's going to be giving me interest. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I can get like 6% for like nothing. I just park it there, and you still can hold like the keys in your ledger, etc. So that's like super interesting. But as I mentioned, this is still like super crypto. And what we have been talking in Cardano is that we want to get to the unbank, and we want to make a difference, and how this also relates to an enterprise. And this is the part that gets like more interesting, that the first step is like building DeFi, and the second step is that everything that's related to like the enterprise should merge with what is the public part, and how this look like that. For example, let's say that in Brandmark, we are working with avocado farmers in Ethiopia, for example. And most of these farmers don't have bank accounts. They don't have access to credit. So if we are able to implement the supply chain, actually what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be able to give them like a history of like their work. Because usually, for example, an avocado farmer, they farm and they sell their avocados, but it's an informal market. So they don't have, if they want to ask for a microloan to like to extend the farm or doing something to like get more productive, they don't have a way to prove how much money they're producing every month. But when you're using a supply chain solution that's using blockchain, you can actually certify how much they're selling, because everything's like interconnected with like the collectors, the processors, the distributors. So actually you can show how much you're selling per month. And because usually when you want to ask a loan, you can do two things. You can show you can put collateral, which they don't have, or you can showcase how much money you make, so you are going to be able to pay the debt. And in this case, with supply chain, you will be able to do this. And this is like the first step. So Brandmark helps like avocado farmers or coffee farmers in Ethiopia, for example, and we implement this. So now we can track how much they're making. And this is like just the first step, because the second step that these people don't have bank accounts. And what happens is that if we have DeFi, actually we have something that's more likely and resembles more to bank accounts. And actually we could give them like wallets that can have money, and maybe they can get paid to like their crypto wallets. And this is the part that actually it could be like interconnected with Cardano, because if we have stable coins that maybe it's like pegged to the US dollar, or even it's like pegged to the local currency, we could start like banking them through the usage of ADA. And this is not something like a crazy idea. Actually, one of our investments from like D-Lab, which is called Sempo, and also they have already confirmed that they're like super excited to also be compatible with Cardano. This is what they have been doing for like the past almost 2 years. They have been working with multiple NGOs all over the world, like Oxfam, Mercy Corps, Red Cross, to implement like transfer programs for people in need in countries like Lebanon, Vanuatu, Iraq, Kenya. So people that don't have bank accounts through their cell phone, they can receive like a stable coin that's pegged to the US dollar. And then in collaboration with local vendors, they can go to a store and spend that money to buy products or whatever they need. And these local vendors actually have bank accounts, and they can exchange the stable coin for fiat currency. So this is already working, and they have transferred already, like they must be close to like the 7 figures. And even they just got a grant from the European Union for like $1.5 million or something like that, which is like a pretty good validation of the work that they are doing. And they are like on track to be one of the most used dApps in Ethereum. So this is going to be like great when they move to Cardano, because they are also going to be able to bring adoption. They're going to be able to bring expertise, and this will actually like all these different pieces are going to start being able to like make sense together and combine.
Okay. I see what you're talking about. I still have some questions, just as far as like who are the clientele for this DeFi situation. You say bank the unbanked, but and then you mentioned microloans, but microloans, they can be extremely predatory in third world countries, extremely predatory. So I'm assuming that the target clientele is probably people that have medium-sized businesses, those avocado farms that maybe have some sort of manufacturing plant already and just need some extra liquidity in order to scale up. I don't really see the connection between the lowest level on the rung of the person maybe picking individual avocados off of a tree, being integrated into the system. I don't really.
What is for you the unbanked? Are those people not unbanked?
No, those people are unbanked. Those people are unbanked. But like you mentioned, microloans.
We're trying to bank them, right?
Yeah. But you mentioned you mentioned microloans. So you mentioned microloans, giving people microloans involves giving people money in order to start projects, and it usually is at a high interest rate. So you are going to, let's say you're going to go to a village in Ethiopia, or you're going to go somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa and provide the people an access to get loans and start building businesses. But the issue with sometimes with microloans, why it can be extremely predatory, is because the people on the lowest level, they end up competing with each other for the same subset of resources. So unless another company or another international manufacturer comes in and starts demanding products from that particular area, the supply and demand curves, they sometimes crush each other. They crush each other just based on just the limited resources and the amount of people that need. So
yeah, but this is not a leap of faith. What I was mentioning, that all the sales that they're able to do, they're going to be recorded in a supply chain solution. So you actually will know how much they're performing month to month, because you know how much they're selling and you know at what price. So this at the end is everything, is nothing. It's like, I don't know, how do I say it? Like, just for the sake of it, you can like actually measure everything, and you can put like the right price, and there could be like at the end like a market that's going to balance offer and demand. And this is only one of the things that I mentioned, but actually if you're thinking about a farmer, that's like the main like amount of, that's like the specific type of people that are unbanked. And that's why when they don't have bank accounts, and that we can actually use DeFi in a more useful way and bring it to them, where they're actually going to be able to have a wallet, they're going to be able to like receive money into that wallet, they're going to be able to spend it, and they're going to be able to have access to other services, like, for example, that one that I mentioned with microloans, where also their work and their labor is going to be recorded in a trustless manner. This is like starting to build something. And this, like microloans, is not like an end game, but rather like an example of the things that we can do.
Okay. Yeah. You know, I don't know if I see it completely. I don't see it. It's very
For example,
hard for me
how do you pay someone that's like, I don't know, someone that I spell like selling sells like avocado. They harvest all the avocado and they bring it. How do you pay them? You just pay them in cash? Is that secure? Where do they store the cash? This is like stuff that's like maybe for us is like given for granted, but for like normal, for people that are in bank, is like a big issue. They just can't get mugged. It's like, for example, when they're in a country that maybe they have high inflation, they want to get access to dollars, how to get access to dollars. And basically at the end, what we are building with the Cardano is like a financial layer where like we can actually change things like pretty easily. And this is like amazing because actually we can give them options. And sometimes when you are poor, the problem is not that you don't have enough money, it's that you, the little money that you don't have access to the same way to move this money as other people that have a little bit more. And that's like some basic stuff like bank accounts, credit cards, and stuff like that. I'm not saying that they should get in debt because they have a credit card, but actually access to buy whatever they need. And that's like a huge problem, because when you actually have the money to buy what you need, but you cannot buy it because you don't have the necessary things, it's like actually really painful.
No, I mean, I agree with your points. I completely agree with your points. I understand it. I just, my point was just that I think like microloans are kind of predatory. That's all.
Yeah,
that's
and
all
that's
I said.
like a really interesting point, because right now, if we think like why people are asking for like loans in the blockchain, it's like, are they just want to be cool, or what's going on? And at the end, what happens is that, for example, if you're going to ask for a loan in like a traditional way, let's say here in the US, they're going to ask you for KYC, credit score, they're going to ask you for a lot of information, which is not that fast to get. And also they're going to, at the end, they're going to offer you like 14%, 20%, or even more, which is pretty high. Right now, there are like other solutions coming up for people that actually have like crypto. This is not for the unbanked that much right now. So for example, if you go to BlockFi and you want to ask a loan, for example, you have Bitcoin, and they will give you a loan in less than a minute, and they are going to ask you for like 12.5%, which is like better than traditional, and it's like faster, and they don't ask you for credit score and all that stuff. But if you are going to ask for a loan in a decentralized manner, for example, with MakerDAO, actually super cheap. When MakerDAO started, like you will pay 0.5%, and right now it's at 8.5%. So actually, it's more efficient, and actually you get to have more money and pay less. So that's super interesting, because also it's one of like the core things why DeFi as a movement is like making sense, because actually in multiple ways it's cheaper. There are other things that are not that great with DeFi, but we can look at the good stuff with DeFi related to that. And also going back to like unbanked people, something that's like really difficult is to give like money. It's like super difficult to give money, and specifically when you have multiple companies in the supply chain, you usually interact just with the latest one, but the farmers that are right here, like it's super tricky to give them money. And something that we can do with crypto is to give like faster payments and cheaper payments, and this is like something that definitely we should leverage and try to like use it as a tool to like get to them.
Of course. That's very important. That's very important. I understand that firsthand. My entire family's Haitian, and how we send money is every time someone comes over on a plane, we give them money or give them a check. Then they cash it at the local Unibank in Haiti or in Port-au-Prince, and then they distribute the goods. But it takes a while. It takes a while. That's the cheapest way to get, because the Western Union and MoneyGram thing, it's not really built out like that in Haiti. So I mean, you really literally have to just send cash. And it's very difficult, and that's for a lot of countries out there. So I understand that firsthand. So I also wanted to talk about, I guess my last point was, I also said in the video that Emurgo seems to be cultivating a relationship with the proof of work cryptocurrency or blockchain project called Ergo, and IOG on the other side is working with ETC, which is also another proof of work blockchain. I know they have their differences, but this was another point where I said that they were kind of diverging on their diverging as far as their business plans, like both moving in a different direction. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I would love to speak to that. Actually, we have a pretty good relationship with IOHK. I talked to Charles, I talked to Romain, and we are always trying to collaborate. And actually, some things that maybe could look like, oh, they're like competing or something. Actually, we are not competing, but we are like complementing each other, which is pretty good. And something interesting about Ergo, that Ergo is actually ex-people that participated in IOHK. So they have a pretty similar mentality to what IOHK has, which is like critical in terms, because there is some property about Cardano that are like really, really cool. And that means that actually Cardano is UTXO based, like Bitcoin. So what do that mean? That, for example, it's similar to how you pay when you go to the supermarket. So for example, if you go to the supermarket and you are going to buy something that's 95 cents, maybe you don't give exactly 95 cents. You give $1 and they're going to give you change, which is going to be 5 cents. Ethereum and most of the other blockchains, they don't work like that. They work like a bank account where you always are paying with the exact price. So you have a bank account, how much is 95 cents? You put 95 cents, pay, so you never get change. So this is like something that looks like an interesting change, like different, but it's actually at the very core of like how everything's built. So smart contracts work completely different in Cardano as they work in Ethereum. And we get a lot of advantages for like using UTXO base, because for example, in Ethereum, everything is like with a global state, and everything's like need to happen in a serial way, but in Cardano, we don't have a global state, and actually we can parallelize things, which, as we know, is so much better because even your computer right now, it doesn't have one CPU, it has multiple CPUs, and we are parallelizing work, and that makes sense. So Ergo, coming back to Ergo, Ergo is the other cryptocurrency that also has UTXO of a smart contract. So we're super excited about Goyen, but a lot of times we have been like criticized, but I think it's like a group criticism that maybe we haven't done that much for the smart contract, but we don't have a smart contract yet. So what we thought is like, oh, maybe we could start doing research and we could use Ergo as this other blockchain that has like really similar capabilities and works really similar to Cardano, and test in production everything that we are doing. For example, we did research for oracles and we already launched it in Ergo. So when Cardano comes, we are already going to have a research that has been validated in production that we can launch almost right away. And right now we are already working in stable coins for Ergo. And that, what do that mean? That when Cardano has Goyen, hopefully just in a couple of months, we can also launch a stable coin that is going to be like already proof in production. And you're going to be able to see like, oh, we don't need to like blindly trust Emurgo. We are actually, Emurgo has deployed something that's working and we can play with it. And this also is not only in this level, we also get to like test YOROI, because for example, for Ethereum, when you interact with dApps, you are using a thing called MetaMask, which is this wallet that goes interconnects with websites. And that's something that we are going to do with YOROI. So basically also not only allows us to like beta test or research, but also to start like testing how like UI, UX, some things are going to work. So when Cardano launches everything that we need, we are already going to have YOROI working with like connecting to websites. We're going to have like web3.js that developers can use to start like creating dApps and interacting with YOROIs. So at the end, I think this is like a huge advantage because we're going to be like already developing most of the stuff that we need for Cardano, but for Ergo before, and we have so many similarities that actually we are going to, the things that we need to change is only going to be for saying something like 20%, right? And that to just start developing when Cardano launches, and this is going to cut a time to market, which is like really important because we want to like as soon as possible as Cardano enables like a smart contract to start like already see adoption, and also it's going to proof stuff because maybe some things we got it wrong and we can realize that in Ergo, and then when we launch in Cardano we can launch things that are like already proof and they have better UI, better UX, or also that the research we didn't foresee something, but in practice there was like a problem and we fixed it. So we put Ergo is not a competitor to Cardano. Ergo is like a market cap of like $10 million. Cardano is like over $1 billion. So it's not like we are going with like Polkadot or something like that, which is actually like you consider a competitor. We are going with Ergo, which is like a smaller one. And actually we both benefit from this. So that's why we saw like the Ergo partnership like something like actually could like benefit Cardano.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's a good answer. I mean I don't see any problem with Ergo. Once again, I just made that observation. And I think that was the last point in my video. I also want to like, I don't know, I'll give you the last words, but I just wanted to tell you that, I mean, I think you feel like I dissed Emurgo. I'm not sure if you're like familiar with my style on my channel, my personal channel. I mean, my videos, like, it's not like the Cardano effect. I mean, I do like little interviews with Brick on the Cardano effect, but I don't really do interviews on my personal channel. It's more like a stream of consciousness. And, you know, I'm an investor first. A lot of people are bag holding, and I just say it how it is. And, you know, you felt like I gave unfair critique to Emurgo. However, if you look at my catalog over the past 8-9 months, I ripped on IOG for a lot of different things, whether that be the A0 value, the K factor, their economic model of how they incentivize. And I've been I've been quite vocal about it. So like, I don't think I said anything negative in my video. I was just pointing observations that I saw.
Yeah,
And, you know,
to be honest, I don't think this has been unfair criticism at all. I just think like they're actually valid criticism. If I were in your position, probably I will have like the same criticism, and I would like, actually, I saw this an opportunity to try to explain why we are taking this decision, why is this happening. And now with like my answers, you can like actually say like, oh, that makes sense, or that doesn't make sense, but actually have like some like response from us, so you can actually like make up your mind if that's like the good way or not.
okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, you know, you also you know, asked me to reach out prior to getting information and stuff like that. But once again, I wasn't reaching in in the sense that I wasn't pulling information out of thin air. I was just seeing what was in front of me, and I wasn't putting anything that I saw that was like factually incorrect. Besides the mistake that I made about the positions, but I changed that, and I put a little addendum on my previous video.
Yeah, I
So.
mentioned that because, for example, in our press releases, we have put like, oh, we have a partnership with Moonstake, and we are doing Brandmark for this reason. So we have been like explaining why we do. And because you got wrong, like even the position from Brandmark, and you didn't mention anything that was related to the information that we have been posting, why this could be like beneficial. That's why I feel like maybe you haven't like checked everything, and I want to help out and like actually give you my comments and opinions about why we are following some ways and not others.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough, Nico. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Philip.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.